Welcome to the U.S. Kiss Vinyl Reference YouTube channel. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. All right, folks, welcome back to a special episode of the U.S. Kiss Vinyl Reference. I am Mike Stone, your host, as always. This week, I say special because we are going to be joined by another guy. I am going to talk to John Humphrey from Seether and the Nixons. So, John is a avid vinyl collector and a avid Kiss fan. You put one and one together, he becomes a avid Kiss vinyl collector. Thus why we're talking to him. So, John has done some co-hosting on another Kiss vinyl collecting podcast called Kiss My Wax. He may have even done an episode or two of Kiss My Collectibles. I can't remember right off the top of my head. So, yeah, I poached Herndon's co-host for a minute. So, sorry about that, Jason.
I'm really not.
But, anyway, this doesn't really have a direction, so to speak, like my focused episodes. Kind of just a free-for-all, kind of like what I just did with Brett Seipels a few weeks ago on his Smashes collection. But I think we're just going to hit on John's collection, collecting habits, probably get an update or two about plans for Seether and the Nixons and whatnot. So sit back and get ready, and I'll be back in a minute with John. All right, folks, welcome to a special show of the U.S. Kiss Vinyl Reference. As you can see, there is a gentleman on my left. Got a little better about that this time. John Humphrey from Seether. So now they're like, well, Mike, you run a Kiss podcast.
What's this guy doing on here?
The fuck are you getting the guy from Seether on here for? So... Anyway, John is a avid vinyl collector, as you can see behind him.
Yeah.
John is also a avid Kiss fan.
Yes, very much.
Avid Kiss fan plus avid vinyl collector means somebody that's really sick in the head. So
is that what they say? My wife might agree.
Yeah. Mine's not home, but I'm sure she heard me say that, and she's shaking her head with agreeance there.
Yes.
So, John, give us a little bit of backstory on John Humphrey, the Kiss fan.
Okay. So, I always say Kiss is sort of the gateway band for me. I was just the right age. I mean, literally, I'm a kid of the 70s and 80s. And I was the right age when the Donruss cards came out. And actually, my grandma had a part-time job at a convenience store, and she would sneak me packs, the bubblegum packs, right? Rocky, Elvis, and Kiss. So I saw them in those images before I ever heard the music. So I was just transfixed, man. I just thought it was amazing. I remember when Kiss Meets the Phantom was on TV. I remember watching it. I didn't really remember it. I was so young, so I was kind of happy to finally see it again then in the 80s when they used to rerun it on late night TV. And I would be 14 or 15 at that point going, well, this movie's not as good as I remember. Even then. But no, they were they were my entry point, man. I was just the perfect age for the superhero kind of thing. And then I got Kiss Alive. That was my first record. An aunt took me and my brother to go shop for records. He picked Kiss Alive 2, and I picked Kiss Alive. This would be 79. Dynasty was out. But I wanted a double album. That looked pretty cool. And I remember being so bummed because his had the tattoos and the booklet. My copy didn't even have the booklet, the first one I had.
Oh,
I was which I don't know why in that era. It just so happened my copy didn't have a book. I was so jealous, but I played that album nonstop. And another thing is my aunt. Then she had cable early on, so those not old enough to remember. Before cable TV, HBO was an antenna you could get on top of your, for your house, and my aunt was able to get it. So I was able to see Kiss in Japan when it came out. She had a VCR. She was sort of ahead of the curve. She was able to record it for me. So always had friends like, let's go to my aunt's house. This is before I even had a VCR. Let's go see Kiss. I remember being confused because that would have been like 79. And I was getting 16 magazine and the Dynasty outfits. And then on comes this show from Tokyo with the older, is 77, the older costumes. A little confused, but it didn't matter. It was Kiss. It was freaking awesome. And there I am seeing them move. Before then it was just pictures, just those cards, and listening to Kiss Alive.
Oh, yeah.
So that concert, it's still one of my favorites. And I prefer that drum solo in the Tokyo show more so than anything on Alive or Alive 2. I just think it's an amazing performance for Peter. And seeing those killer overhead shots with that drum set just wrapped around him. It seemed like it went on forever.
That thing was huge.
It was huge. And the gong and the solo where he'd get up and he came around with the mallets all the way to the big drum and then back. And something about it all clicked for me. And I'm like, I really fell in love with the drums. Then it was just drumsticks on my floor. My brother and I, air guitar, air drum. We had Kiss concerts. Some of the best Kiss concerts I ever had was in my bedroom. Total nerd. And then later on, obviously, as I became a teenager, found AC/DC and Motley Crue and went to shows. My first Kiss concert was Creatures, which was kind of when I was able to get those records. Like I said, it was 79. I got Unmasked when it came out, Dynasty. And then it was a weird time, right? Here comes, The Elder. And a lot of my friends went on to other bands, but I stayed true to Kiss fan through and through. And I was so excited to finally be able to see them. And Creatures was my first show. So now looking back, it was really a great opportunity to see an interesting time. And a lot of people didn't get to see that. I have a lot of great friends, Kiss fan friends that are like, wow, you saw that tour? Man, it didn't come to my town or whatever it was. And that made me even more of a fan. And about 12 or 13, I got into band in school, marching band. Again, I love the drums. Finally got a drum set and had my first band, how you do in high school, grades, middle school, high school.
Yeah.
And just music. But I have to say, Kiss had a huge part to do with my love of music. It just the whole thing, that sort of mystical image, that larger than life, rock star Kings, man. Always tell anybody, and I've met them, there are two bands that just turn me right into a 10-year-old again anytime I meet them or have had a chance to meet them. And that's Kiss and Van Halen, those two bands. And I've met members of both that I get all tongue-tied and I turn into an idiot, and because they're still like, up there for me. It's just something about that is that it's stuck with me through even to this day,
Oh yeah, Van Halen was my gateway, and I've never got to meet Ed, but I could, if he was still with us now, if he was standing right here in front of me, you'd see this 43-year-old guy just turn into a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, just loved it.
But yeah, I got into Kiss right at the reunion, so I was kind of entrenched in music already. So yeah, it's kind of a neat little difference that we have different point of view, and I'm about 20 years behind everybody on Kiss too.
I think it's cool. I'm always fascinated. People have different entry points, and I think it's so cool. They've had such an interesting career, man. I just think that's what makes them I've always stuck with them. It's just been fascinating, their whole trajectory and the reunion, and then, and people that I know that, just kind of came into it at different points. I know original fans that were in it in the early on and way in the beginning, and then other guys, that saw Paul Lynn when it was on TV, and the Midnight Special, stuff I was too young to remember.
Right.
And then a fan like you that got it, in at the reunion, which it's amazing, always fascinating.
Yeah, and just to kind of give everybody the scope, before the reunion was announced, I mean, unless you were a Kiss fan, they really weren't on the radar.
No.
I mean, maybe in the early 80s when they had Lick It Up and Heaven's on Fire on the radio, but in 1994, 95,
yeah.
I mean,
it was another weird time in their history, right? And as a fan and following it, there was sort of this nostalgic thing going on when they did the Kiss My Ass album, all these artists from the 90s, which were my age, and I was in a band touring and doing the deal. So a lot of guys my age, we all grew up on Kiss. So it's no surprise that era, started to show, what, their love for this band being a kid. So they do Kiss My Ass, which was great. Then they do Unplugged, right? And I remember, I had recorded it. I was on tour, asked my wife, then fiance, to record it for me. Got home and watched that and was so excited, Ace and Peter coming out to play. I had some friends in the business that were there at the taping before it aired, and they're just like, man, you're going to be blown away. It's so awesome. There's a surprise. I won't tell you, and so I was like a kid. I remember that excitement. And then when they were on the Intrepid and the announcement of the tour and the Grammys first.
The Grammys.
Yeah. And I mean, I just sort of in real time remember things building up. I really didn't expect a reunion maybe, but Unplugged was so successful and had done so well that I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, but I could kind of feel something ramping up. I wasn't sure, but man, what an amazing time. And then I was in a band at the time that were able to open for them, did 6 shows with them on that reunion tour. And they were bigger than they were in the 70s. I mean, this is the biggest tour of 96, 97, multiple nights at Madison Square Garden. I mean, they're back and they're huge, man. And I really feel that it had a lot to do with our generation that we're just too young to see the original band. And fans like yourself that, we were watching the old concerts and just wishing we had been there, and just they lived up to that image, man. And I just feel it was so successful. A lot to do with, the young kids. It's kind of funny. They always like, well, we turned into a band like a circus. There were kids of all ages, parents bringing their kids back in the 70s. What did we become? We had lost our edge. But I'm telling you, those kids are the ones that came to the reunion shows.
Yep.
And had everything to do with that monster success.
Yeah, I never got to see a lick of Kiss footage until I saw them on the reunion tour.
Oh, really?
Never saw an old video.
You never saw the old stuff?
No. In my 15-year-old mind, when they got back together, the entire concert looked like the Alive 2 gatefold.
Yeah.
I mean, just from start to finish. So,
wow.
Yeah, I went to see them in St. Louis, both the reunion and the Lost Cities tour.
Awesome.
And, oh, yeah. Just, again, I was 15 or 16 then, but yeah, just a little kid.
Right.
I mean, best concert I had been to at that point,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I mean,
what a great. Were they your first concert?
No, my first concert was Ozzy, Slaughter, and Ugly Kid Joe in '92. It was Ozzy's No More Tours thing.
Oh, wow.
Funny enough, I was into Ozzy and Metallica pretty big back then, and I had a choice. I could either go see Ozzy or I could see Metallica, which was like 2 weeks later or something like that.
That's a hard choice.
And I was like, well, man, I said, Metallica's not going anywhere. Ozzy's retiring.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I need to go see Ozzy before he retires.
Right.
So, yeah. that was a long hole there.
Yes, of course, Ozzy went on, but at that time you didn't know, so I
No,
think you
yeah.
chose wisely. That's awesome.
But yeah, I'd probably, by the time I saw Kiss, I'd probably seen maybe 8 or 9 concerts by then, so I wasn't well seasoned. But
Right.
and then the vinyl thing,
Yeah.
I don't know what in the world got me into vinyl. Couldn't
Really.
tell you.
Yeah. So for me, I grew up with it, right? That's the first
Mhm.
thing I had. I had my Kiss Alive was actually, on vinyl. So for me, my parents had a player. I remember it was a combo Columbia. It had a 8-track player in it, turntable, and for the longest time, I don't think it was until I was 12 or 13 I was even allowed to touch it, you know. And but yeah, vinyl was the thing for me. And of course, when I started driving, 16, 17, I had a cassette, I got into cassettes like everyone did, then CDs, and still have my CDs. And I had a small vinyl collection, and I kept it for years. Every time my wife and I would move, get a new apartment, new house, I took those records with me. I never had a lot of buddies took them to pawn shops, got rid of them, didn't want to deal with them anymore, but I kept them. And then about 10 years ago, I started getting back into it. And because of Facebook, the different groups we have, I started learning a lot about presses internationally, stuff about the US that I didn't know. I mean, I've learned so much, and it definitely guided me to like, oh, I want to find that. Oh, where's that? Oh, I got to find that now. That's a cool cover. I didn't know. And I became all about it, and not just Kiss.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, no, huge Beatles fan. I'm an Elvis fan. Like I said, I'm an '80s kid, so all that '80s hard rock and metal, and but I'm all over the place, man. I like different. I love Pantera, and then I've got Jim Croce in there, and Carole King, and Fleetwood Mac, and Van Halen, and I love '70s R&B and soul, and I love um, Parliament Funkadelic, and just different stuff.
Oh, yeah.
As I've grown, hopefully, and matured, my musical, my tastes have varied, But as far as Kiss, and I still get teased in some circles to this
Yeah.
day, which is hilarious. I've just Kiss has always been the band for me, special place for me.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the record shows I used to get teased pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, all in good fun, but
Sure, sure.
I back when I was getting all these variations, I would see lots on eBay. It'd be 15, 20 records. Well, there might be one in there I needed, so I bought the whole lot.
Right.
After doing that for a couple of years, I had boxes left over. And so I started getting into the record show thing, and
Yeah.
very quickly I became the Kiss guy.
Yeah.
And I see it on their faces. I'd have 5 or 6 boxes of Kiss records on the table. They'd walk up there, they'd flip through a couple, and then they'd look over and they just walk to the next guy. So,
Oh, this guy's all Kiss. I would have loved it. I'm sorry we didn't meet back then because it'd been a long time since I'd gone to a record show. It was only year before last that I kind of started getting back into the shows.
yeah.
Um, but a table like yours, man, I would have been like, whoa, this guy's just nothing but Kiss. That's awesome. I would have loved stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. You had started posting last year or so,
Yeah.
all the shows down there, and then I
Yeah.
sent you the one about the one up here by me.
Yeah, which is a
And-
great one. That Carthage show is really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's
Yeah.
well, I mean, it's close to me, number one, but it seems like we get a real good mix of people from like
Yeah.
Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas.
Right. Yeah. Especially that one in March. That was probably the best show, man, I've ever been to. And as a seller, it was great for me. So that was a really good show. And that was the first time we met in person, and
Hmm.
met a lot of other people too. And that was a great show, man.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. I love talking to people, even though some people in my family would be like, "Really, Mike, you hate people." I mean, I'll sit there at a table all day and just talk to everybody. I love doing it. If there's like a common bond there, interest,
Sure,
you
sure.
know. And those shows, I just ate them things up, man. There was 2 of them in Carthage every year, and then there was 2 in Springfield, which is about an hour and a half or so from me. And I would
Right.
do all 4 of them. Just loved it. Loved it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's about, right? Connecting with fellow fans, people that appreciate and the things that you do as well. I have a lot of things in common, and no, it's great. Some great people, sellers that I've met, and new relationships that forged in the last couple of years, and some great people, man. So no,
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it.
So, what you got picked out to show us?
So I just grabbed a few of my personal highlights. I don't know. I can just sort of random things.
The first rule is there are no rules.
Okay. So let me start this is crazy. So oddly today I went to a record store this morning before the show. I was looking to pick up something that I should have picked up before, and they had since sold it, and I was sorry that I wasn't able to grab it. But I look over on this table, and this tour book is sitting there, the Creatures tour book.
Oh,
right? Which
right.
is, again, my first concert.
Mm-hmm.
I have this book. Look how much it is. Can you see?
$20.
$20.
You stole that thing.
Great shape.
It looks really nice.
Yeah, it's not bad at all, and great deal. So I was kind of excited to pick that up. So that was something I grabbed literally today.
Nice. Yeah, that's one hole I haven't went down was the books, because there's that one that I'll never find.
Right. Yeah. And to be honest, the memorabilia, I've kind of stopped. I mean, I'm just really focusing on vinyl, and that's sort of my passion anymore these days. So I wasn't even looking for that, but I saw that and I went, oh, I got to get it, And again, instantly thought of, my first concert, and I still have that ticket stub, and really special to me. So, hey, I figured it was maybe destined to happen, so I grabbed it.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a fun one, right? We all know the white label promo.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And mine came in this Warner Brothers mailer, which is kind of cool. And then inside the mailer, of course,
oh, you dog.
I won't open it up completely, but diehard fans know exactly what that is. That's the first album's promo poster right there. And so that's in my Warner. I just love that mailer.
Nice.
So cool. So that's a set. And I do like memorabilia with something like that is, goes along with the vinyl.
Right. Right.
That was a set, and that's how I got it. And so in the case of that, I kept the poster because it was part of the package. And then fun stuff, I love stuff from Japan. This is the solo box. And inside are the solo albums. They're promo copies.
Oh, yeah.
You can see the promo symbol there.
Yeah, on the
backwards. Okay.
Left side there, yeah.
Yeah. You kind of see. So it's also signed.
Oh, nice.
And then got signed by Gene. Ace. And Peter's, of course, had to be special, and he did his for me in green. So I love that box. I also have another box, same one.
Yeah.
Of course. In this case, a lot of people say it didn't really necessarily come this way, but I did put them in here. And I have the picture disc, solo picture disc.
Oh, nice.
So I put it inside this box. It wasn't supposed to come that way. Apparently, it was always if you got the 4 regular albums. But I thought it was really cool. I found the box just by itself without any of the records, and I thought it was kind of a cool thing to put together.
Yeah, I always thought that was just a point of sale thing, right? That you got if you bought any copy of the solo albums, but
yeah, and I love that, especially in Japan. A lot of that point of sale stuff. This is cool. You might have seen this before.
Oh yeah.
This is my Elder test press. And I randomly found this on Discogs, and it was for a killer price.
Now, do you know if that has the track listing that starts with Fanfare on it, or if it starts with The Oath?
I think it starts with The Oath.
Okay.
That's a great question. I played it once. I believe it's the standard press. Let's see if I can see the matrix. It's kind of hard to see. But I will check that out and get back to you. I haven't listened to it in a long time.
Yeah, I know it wasn't far before the release that they flopped the track listing around, and there's actually a few records that made it out in the U.S. retail copies that start off with Fanfare, and they don't have Escape from the Island, just like the Japanese one?
Just like the Japanese press.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I need to play that and check that out. And we talked about this before. You got me into the top loaders recently, and I think they're a great way to protect some things. And this is that white cover from Australia, and it's now safely tucked in a
that thing's loader. Bulletproof now.
Yeah, it's perfect for it, and I just love that one.
Now, was that in shrink wrap, or is that just a resealable sleeve that you had?
That's just a resealable sleeve. Yeah, no shrink wrap. Lo Mejor de Kiss.
Lo Mejor.
Yeah. The best of Kiss. And what a cool track list, right? I mean, I love some of these compilations that have these unique track listings. Let's see. I Want You, Got to Choose, Flaming Youth. Stuff that's not usually on.
Right.
Love Theme from Kiss, really cool. Ends with Room Service.
Yeah, that's definitely an odd one.
Yeah, it's just like having a different playlist of a sort of best of. I think that's so unique.
That's a pretty nice copy too.
Yeah, that's it. I'm pretty anal about condition on things, and I upgraded. I had another one.
Yeah.
I upgraded to this one, but I like those. See, I'm trying to go in a certain order here. So I do have some sealed copies. I know people have mixed feelings on collecting sealed copies, but I do have a sealed first press originals, and I love the hype. And I pride myself. I have a few copies of this, and it's so hard to get in good condition.
Oh yeah,
ring wear. It's just a thin cover. It was just so prone to it.
Yeah, that jacket was not made well.
No, it just isn't durable, doesn't hold up. But I love that. And I'm a sucker for these hype stickers.
Mm-hmm.
That clear one, I just love. And then per your request.
Oh, yeah.
Got the second printing here. Look at that, a promo stamp.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a weird one, unique one.
Yeah, I do have another buddy that has that same stamp on a copy of the originals, second printing also. So, it's not a unicorn, as they say.
Right. And it's kind of reassuring when somebody else finds one.
Right.
Like maybe, it's a legit deal. And I don't know what copy his has, but mine has the Roman numeral text.
I want to say his has the same, but I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure when the when the episode hits, he'll be in the comments correcting me.
Yeah, yeah, I'd be curious. Yeah, what pressing he has in there, and so it was kind of two birds with one stone for sure to pick that up because I had been looking for that Roman numeral, which for those that don't know, that's usually just on the FilmWorks label, that particular text and font,
Right.
and to find it on the the camel label is kind of cool. Then I posted this recently for Vinyl Day.
Yes, you did.
And it's Bolivia, right? I forget.
Pretty sure it was Bolivia.
Yeah. I love it. Look at the different back on that.
Yeah.
So cool. And I was, being an Elvis fan, I'm pretty familiar with the RCA label, but I mean, it's so weird to see it with a Kiss record.
Yeah, it is kind of odd.
Yeah, orange label, RCA. It's just so cool. And I love something like that. And it sort of has a really blue hue to it. You can kind of see.
Yeah, you can kind of see that it's a different, almost lighter.
Yeah, kind of cool. And then I love stories where, I find stuff in the wild. I don't know about you, but in a lot of the record stores, and I try to hit them, on days off when we're on tour, and finding like something of Kiss in good condition and something maybe that you don't have in the wild, quote unquote, it just rarely happens anymore.
Right.
You just don't find that stuff out there. But at a local record store here, I was finally happy to get, this is Unplugged.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, with the cool promotional copy, which I flipped that over and was like, holy cow, that in itself was great. And then I had a friend send it around, and I met them in a couple of meet and greets and got this all signed. And since Tommy was even a consultant on it, I had him do it too.
Yeah.
But everybody, Bruce, Peter did the to John there, which that's awesome.
And that Paul in black there.
Yeah, Paul messed it all up, didn't he? But I think that's kind of cool. Everybody involved, all in one cover. And the fact I was just so excited to get this, was a good price too.
Yeah.
At my local record store, it's like that just never happens.
Yeah, I bought one of the colored copies of Revenge. I think it's the blue one off of eBay years ago. And I didn't notice it until just a couple years back. The back of it is signed by 3 of them.
Oh, wow.
Gene, Bruce, and Eric. And it must have been signed back then. But anyway, here in a couple of weeks, Paul is going to be at a opening of Rock and Brews in a casino up by me.
Right.
And I'm going to try to get up there and hopefully, he'll be meeting people and maybe sign something. But they all signed it in black marker. So I'm going to be an oddball showing up with a black Sharpie going, can you sign this? just to make it match the other 3.
Right. Yes, of course, us record collectors and our OCD, we got to keep everything
the same.
Just the same. Exactly. That's awesome. And then I know people have sort of mixed feelings on this sort of recent trend, but this is encapsulated.
Yes.
Which is, I kind of like it, especially for sealed items. Again, I do love sealed items. And so I have this encapsulated, and it's sealed. Mm-hmm. And very cool here. There's a sticker for $79. So
November?
Obviously, let's see, that corner there, it's a cutout, right?
Yeah.
So this thing was originally out, sent back, and then obviously sent back in of the era, 79. It sat in a record bin, and you could get it for $4. But the reason I have this,
is
the misprint copy with the 3 songs: Take Me, Hooligan, Do You Love Me?
Yeah, there is just not that many of those sealed.
Yeah, right? I mean, and I was never going to open it. I've got various copies in shrink and hype, and a lot of people are like, they're meant to be played, but it's the collector in me.
Sure.
And, I left it sealed. And then went even a step further to have this graded and encapsulated. And they did a really good job. It looks really good.
Yeah, I always hear that argument if I get a sealed copy in, rock and roll over. Oh, it's meant to be open and sealed. It's like, man, I've got like 26 copies of rock and roll over here. How many times do I got to listen to it?
Right. And yeah, I do like sealed stuff if and when I can find it. And that was just a great find, and had it forever. And did the encapsulation thing. I did it with a couple. I have a Motley Crue leather records press and a Beatles album. They did 3 of them just to kind of see how I felt about doing that. And it's pretty cool. I like it. And they're protected. And I do kind of like the, what do you think about the encapsulating thing?
On a sealed record like that, especially a special record like the Error copy of Alive 2, I definitely agree with it, because, I mean, it's like we both said, there's no point in opening it because we've already got open copies.
Right.
And, I mean, that's just an extra layer of protection there, a big layer of protection.
Yeah.
And, really, it's an official grading.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I like it on something like that. Now, would I, just take this open first album promo and do it? Probably not. But
yeah.
But where it's sealed and you can't pull stuff out of there to look at anyway, why not do it?
Yeah, that's what I think so. I think so too. They do, encapsulate, open ones, and
sure.
VMG is the company now. That was AAGS before Andrew went to that company. And they have a patent on a hinged one where they can do the cover and then they can do the vinyl separately. So if it's open, you can do, which I haven't done that, but I do like the idea with the sealed albums.
Yeah.
Because the ones I do collect are ones, for one reason or another, I got them because they are sealed and have no intention of opening them. And usually, in most cases, already have a play copy anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know. Should I already mix it up with
the Troublemaker?
This mess?
Oh, boy, that thing has perpetuated some shit for years.
Yeah.
From my direction, I'm just as guilty as everybody else.
So the weird deal is, of course, this is a color version. Sorry for the sticker in the way of.
Sure.
But for this, right?
Yep.
And it's the EP. And the weird thing, though, it has the full album track listing, which doesn't have a promo album in it. It has that same, 5-song EP.
Right.
Which it came with. And of course, now you've held it in your hands. I have. Yeah, I always contend, like, I do own counterfeit things.
Sure.
Things I'll collect. I have tons of bootlegs, but this was a weird one to hold and feel and see. And I just, it's pretty convincing. It's done, especially the silver when you see it. It's just like an original standard LP cover. And anyway, it's really kind of a cool piece.
Yeah, boxes were definitely checked that day.
yeah, you came out and you even did a show or a blog on it and put it up. I think that was the first time we met.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I wasn't going to ask you to do it, and I was just like, well, the worst thing he could do is say, well, it's a $3,600 record. I don't know, but good Lord, I couldn't thank you enough for bringing that thing up there, because, I mean, it was printed professionally. I have no qualms about that. Now, the officialness of it, still a little dicey, but up until I held that thing in my hands, that thing was printed in somebody's basement. You know.
Right. Right. And I was surprised because long before we met, and just initially when I got in a couple of the groups, I'd posted it, and I thought it was real. I didn't buy
Right.
it under the I didn't know. I don't know where I heard about it. I don't know if I had a somebody. I was aware of it. This would be early mid 2000s, but I had never knew somebody that had one. Anyway, I bought it and fair priced, and then I posted it, and a lot of people, that's fake, man. That's a counterfeit. That's fake as hell, and I was like, oh, really? I didn't know.
Right.
And then, of course, a lot of time has passed and we've learned different things. And of course, I opened it, and the patent number inside matches actually the black and white covers patent information, which is kind of interesting. So we put it through its paces to see.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at that record show after I looked at it, and then boy, I'd run to somebody else's table and find like a copy of Ram It Down or something that I thought was from the same time period as your jacket. And I'm over there smelling that thing.
I smelled it. I did. You do all that stuff.
The seller at the table's just kind of looking at me. I'm like, just trust me on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's convincing, and I always say, you've got to hold it in your hands, man, or you really it'll change your opinion. It just doesn't do it justice to even show it on here. And so anyway, I'm glad you got to check it out in person. It's a trip, prototype or something. I don't know, but it's very cool to have.
Right.
And, it's an interesting talk piece, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, it's a conversation starter.
Yeah, conversation starter for sure. For sure. And then I've shown this on a few things. This is Japanese Originals box set.
The red one.
This is the red one, right? A lot of people know about this. They did a black one, and then supposedly they did this red one, and then supposedly they did 250 of these.
Yeah, that was the number I heard.
Yeah, and all I know is it's rare.
Yes.
I've only seen maybe less than a handful over the years. And so that's cool. My kids and my wife got that for me Father's Day.
Nice.
I want to say 2010. So, it's pretty cool.
And on that, literally the only difference is the color of the box, right?
That's it. Everything inside's the same. Same color vinyl, same inserts book. The originals type punch out card, everything is just the same. Just the cover is red, and then the obi has this red strip.
Oh, okay.
Where the other obi, I believe the colors are, and it's a black strip. But that's the only differences. But it is definitely rare.
And that whole wrap is obi, right? Not just
yes, right. Yeah, it goes into that envelope style box set sleeve, and yes, it's just a resealable sleeve. Yeah, with that obi sticker actually on the sleeve, not the box.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's a few of the highlights. I still have things I want to add. We were talking earlier today. I'm still hoping to, and it looks like it's pretty good that I'll finally get a Dynasty straitjacket cover. So I've been wanting that. There's a few on my want list, which is cool. After all these years,
right?
There's definitely still things I'm on the hunt for. I'm sure you are too. There's those elusive things. Learning about the elder, from you about the label with the correct, the intended track order, which is crazy.
Yeah, I'd love to find one of them. Love to.
And you begin to wonder, it's just like the Dynasty. I've had I don't know how many copies and sold or traded over the years. A lot of Dynasties. Did that thing go through my hands and I never even noticed? You begin to wonder. Same thing with the Elder. If I've been in a used record store, pulled that out, didn't even know to look for that track listing. And did it pass through my hands? It's crazy to think.
And it's weird for me when I hear somebody say, "Yeah, I've been looking for that error copy of Dynasty for years, you get a little jaded after a while. I mean, I hate to sound braggy about it, but there was a point in time where I couldn't keep from tripping over them damn things.
That's
You
crazy.
know,
Yeah,
I mean, I've probably had 7 or 8 of them pass through my hands, and
really.
yeah,
Yeah,
somebody would say, "Oh, I'd really like to find one." All right, I'll find you one here in a
yeah.
little bit.
It's weird the luck some people, I've had through my hands, with that sealed Alive 2 misprint. I've had 3 other copies, and 2 of them I found in a record store. One was $8, and the
Oh,
other one was 10 or $11. I've had 2 times, so I always flip over Alive 2.
oh yeah,
And it's crazy. It's like I went years dry as a desert, never found it, stopped, gave up, and then those 2 that I found
just
pretty close to each other.
yeah.
Yeah, just out of nowhere. I was on tour, Kansas City, a record store. I flipped it. I couldn't believe it. And
Hmm.
so altogether, yeah, I've had 4 of those over the years. So yeah, I wonder if I've ever had those dynasties and didn't know it.
I've got a story about that Alive 2 error copy. So I was at Creatures Fest a couple of years ago in Nashville. I might have told you this, but I was with a buddy of mine, Tony Chambers, and as soon as that expo room opened that day, we were in there, went around that whole thing looking at all these records, right?
Right.
We get about 3/4 of the way through, and we're sitting there flipping through, and I looked at him. I was like, I'm just ashamed of us. I said, neither one of us have turned over one single copy of Alive 2. Anyway, we go through there, we finish it off, and do a couple other things. Well, I go back down to the expo room, right?
Right.
First table inside the door. I'm sitting there flipping through, and I picked up an Alive 2, and I was like, flipped it over, error copy
Wow.
for $60.
Wow. And it was still there after you made
And
the
it was still
round.
there. Yeah, we're talking like 2, maybe 3 hours later. It's still
Yeah.
there. And yeah, I paid for it real quick, and I believe it was Herndon was right behind me. I turned around and I looked at him. I held that up. He said, "Don't you dare turn that over and show me that it says take me on it."
Because he had flipped through there too.
I don't know if he had made it through there yet or not, but yeah, as soon as I got out of there, yeah, I was sitting there on the texting to Tony. I was like, "You won't believe what I just found."
Right. I mean, and that's just crazy, just the odds. I love these vinyl groups and meeting new people and learning about this, but at the same time, you definitely set the challenge for yourself or the competition, right? When
Right.
it's great that people are educated and learning about, oh, there's a Live 2 misprint and there's 2 different ones, or there's the Dynasty straight jacket skivvy, whatever you want to call it, cover. But a lot of fans know about it now. So they're looking,
Right.
and and I was always hoping maybe it'll just randomly, I'll find it by accident, record store priced as normal, doesn't know. It hasn't happened yet, but yeah, but flipping over a couple of misprints, that's amazing, especially at a Kiss
At a
centric
convention, yeah.
expo, like where all these fans, like, I know to turn over the Kiss Alive 2 and maybe the misprint.
But yeah, boy, I forgot what I was going to say. It just left.
About Live 2 or the expo or Dynasty.
It's gone.
Back. It'll come back. We'll talk about something else.
Oh, yeah. That elder thing, with the correct track list.
Yeah,
I hate telling people about that because I'm looking for it, but
sure.
I mean, the guys that own a copy of it, that thing deserves to be shown, and
Yeah,
I understand them not just being in a group every day going here,
yeah.
but yeah, I can't shut up about that thing. There's 2 different variations, and they are both at the very top of my list.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. I think your people are learning, getting educated on this stuff, and knowing what to look for. I think, yeah, it's conflicting, thoughts, right? because yes, you're just setting up the competition, making it that much harder for yourself by, telling everybody what to look for. But I do appreciate it because I've learned so much.
Sure.
And God, man, pre-internet stuff, misinformation I had, um, I had those Music Life Japanese magazines of Kiss
Yeah.
back in the day, and seeing the ad for Originals 2, and I just didn't understand what it was, didn't believe it existed, had never seen one. It wasn't until like the early years of eBay that I'm like, oh my God, that's a real thing. And because I was going to record shows back in the day. I worked in a record store in the 80s in high school. And I'd never seen one, just other than that magazine, Music Life ad.
Right.
And yeah, it's amazing. Or the Alive 2 misprint, there's only 50 printed up or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a club now that has, how many?
Well, there's 48 of them not inside this house right now. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I've got 2 of them right over
Yeah.
here.
And there's, obviously way past 50.
Way past. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of crazy information, but it's great to learn and know what to look for. And so when you do spend your hard-earned dollars, you're trying to get, some of the most collectible things if you can.
Right. So, now let's talk about your day job a little bit.
Yeah.
So, what kind of plans can we look forward to with Seether and or the Nixons?
Yeah. So Seether just released a new single, and we have a new album coming out September 20th. The Surface Seems So Far. And yeah, we're going to be hitting the road with Skillet.
Yep.
And I'll leave here October 14th and head to Nashville for some rehearsal and some, knocking the rust off and production rehearsal and getting ready to hit the road. And that tour is about 5 weeks, takes us almost to the end of October. I'm sorry, did I say October? September 14th.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm pretty sure I'm going to see you before
Yeah,
then.
my calendar's messed up. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's September 1st, man. I can't keep up with this stuff. Yeah, so September 14th I leave. Tour start. I go to Nashville, and then through the end of October is how long the tour lasts. About 5 weeks.
Right.
We go out with Skillet, and we've known those guys for a long time. So I kind of joke between Seether and Skillet, it's the Heaven and Hell tour.
So are they a Christian band? Yeah, me and the wife was talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
So they are. Oh, okay.
They are amazing. My youngest son was a huge fan of the band. I had toured with him maybe once, and he was a huge fan of the band. And we went to a show, and it was sort of a revival. Right. They had been out on tour with us. We had done festivals, not really on tour with us, but they had done festivals and were kind of earlier in the day, but they were headlining this sort of revival, and they had various musician styles of music, all Christian based. Right. They would have a pop band and then a semi-rock band. But anyway, Skillet headlines, and they come out and it's full pyro production, lifts going into the air. It looks like a Kiss show or something. I didn't realize how big they are in that world. And yeah, I was blown away. And that's been a long time ago when my son was just kind of first getting into music. And but yes, they are a Christian based band.
Yeah, I'm not real familiar with them. I think I have heard of them over the years. I may have even heard some of their stuff, but I wouldn't recognize it if it was right in front of me.
Right. And then the Nixons are doing a couple of shows. The Nixons, for those who don't know, that are, we're a band. We formed in the 90s, all from Oklahoma. And we had our biggest hit was a song called Sister. And like we spoke earlier, it was a great time for that song to be doing so well and for our band to be doing so well, because we were picked one of several bands to open for Kiss on that reunion tour. And they rotated different bands. And they did 4 nights at Madison Square Garden. We opened the last of those 4 nights. A lot of cities, Chicago and stuff, they were doing 2 shows. So it would be, D-Generation or 311 or another band, and then we would be one night or whatever. So it was 6 shows spread over 2 weeks, and it was freaking amazing. And um, I lost my train of thought. But anyway, the Nixons. Oh, I know. We're doing a couple of shows this year. We have a show here in Oklahoma in Warwicka in September. It's a festival, and actually, my oldest son Jackson is an amazing drummer,
Hmm.
and he's just killer. And he's filling in. So anytime the Nixons will do shows, we're not touring obviously like Seether. We don't really do that anymore. A lot of the other guys have other day jobs. Zach, for instance, the singer, is a songwriter in Nashville, producer, and does a lot of that. And when we can, we try to arrange shows, and it's mostly just for fun to get together. We've
Sure,
been
sure.
friends for years, and we still have somewhat of a local fan base here, Oklahoma and Texas, where we started out, and so we have a lot of fun. And my oldest son will fill in for me because the show in September will conflict with the Seether tour. I'm not able to do it, and so he will fill in for me, and he will kill it. And we then will be announcing another show in Oklahoma City at the end of the year. But yeah, it's fun, man. I mean, we obviously have a lot of history. Have kept in touch over the years, and it's great to kind of reconnect. And we initially did that in 2017. A promoter here in Oklahoma City just really wanted a show, and just nothing more than he was simply a huge fan of the band. But an amazing crowd showed up, and then we did a sold out show at Trees in Dallas. So it was amazing to see that people still cared about that band. And so when we can, we'll do shows and play and record. The way with technology now, even though we're kind of scattered around the U.S., a couple of us are
Yeah.
in Oklahoma, Zach's in Nashville. I can record drums, and then send it off to the guy, to do guitars and bass, and then send it to Zach, and then we have it mixed, which is great. So we can still be creative. Doesn't necessarily mean we have to wait till we're all in a room together.
Right.
It's kind of cool. So when we can, we'll be, we work on new music and stuff and have a lot of fun. And then Seether, I've been with this year, coming up. So
20 years.
yeah, 21 actually,
Yeah.
for 2004. I joined in at the end of 2003, and yeah, just amazing, man. The band, originally from South Africa, Dale and
Hmm.
Sean, the founders of the group, young guys relocated to the United States, and Wind Up Records was the initial label, same
Hmm.
label that was having success around the time with Evanescence and
Yeah.
Creed, and great label there in the early mid 2000s, and signed Seether. And dude, I went from the Nixons in 2001 ending, kind of going on hiatus, to joining. There was about a year and a half there, and then joining Seether and picking up where I left off with the Nixons. And we were on tour, you know, for 16 or 17 years straight, man. I mean, of
Yeah.
course, we'd have breaks in there, but there were several albums where the tour cycle would be almost 2 years.
Right.
We'd come home for 3 weeks, we'd go out for a month and a half, we'd come back for a week, we'd go out for 3 months. It went like that. And that's what you have to do to build a band, especially in the beginning, man. You have
Yeah.
to play shows and forge relationships, and hopefully along the way you write really great music that connects with people. And when it does, that's still the amazing thing about all this, man. I know with social media, I've been doing this long enough to see the total change from putting flyers on, telephone poles to promote your band, to social media and how it's
Yeah.
done now. But the one basic thing where their fans are now getting your music via Spotify or YouTube, or going into a record store to buy it back in the day, there's a connection that happens. You can't really force a person to get into your music.
Hmm.
And I know payola, existed on some
Oh,
level and
sure,
still
sure.
does to a certain extent. But there really is something that happens that you can't put your finger on when a song connects with people, a lot of people. And it's an amazing feeling. A song that, you and the guys put together, arranged, different songs are written in different ways. People to contribute at different levels, but either way, you're a part of something that just connected with other people on a very special level. And it's just kind of amazing, and that's sort of magical still to me. And it's still the same as it's always been, even though technology's changed the complete landscape. It's still, you know, about writing a great song and hoping that it connects. And when it does, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, the first time I saw Seether was on the Evanescence tour.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh, I'm not sure if Broken had even broken yet.
Right, right. Because there was a period there where we did shows with them, and they were wanting us to re-record that song. Broken originally
Yeah.
was the acoustic track, the last track on Disclaimer, the Seether's first album, and they were wanting a song for the Punisher soundtrack,
Hmm.
and we were trying to figure out what song they could do, and finally Broken, and it was just sort of a fluke. I joined right at the end of the Disclaimer tour,
Yeah.
and we were going to do this song for the soundtrack, and it was just supposed to be sort of like something out there to keep the band, sort of in people's minds while we started working on the next album.
Hmm.
Well, the thing became a hit. It took off.
Huge.
Huge. And Evanescence is at the top of their game. We had an opportunity to tour with them and have Amy do the song with us every night, which was, they would lose their minds when she'd come out. So the timing was perfect. And the first year and a half, I always joke with the Nixons, unfortunately, outside of North America, I never got to tour with the Nixons. Well, Seether for the first year was almost all overseas.
Yeah.
A lot of overseas, which was great, man. I got to, go to Greece and the UK and Australia, New Zealand. We did New Year's Eve, 2003, 2004 in South Africa because of the guys, which was really amazing. I got to see places I never thought I'd ever visit. So that song was pretty special, and it really kind of got our foot in the door internationally.
Hmm.
And then we came back and worked on the second album, Karma and Effect, which was my first album with them. And Remedy was the
Oh,
song that came from that. And it was, Sean wrote a killer song, and it, it,
yes,
it
he did.
connected. It connected, and it was a great follow up for us. And yeah, it's been awesome.
For the longest time, I didn't realize that Remedy was a Seether song. Uh,
Really, yeah,
I mean, I was in a band around 07, 08, and kind of like what Disturbed used to do, they'd take like an old 80s pop song and cover it. So I'm like, we need to do something like that. Let's pick something that nobody else has done.
yeah,
And we was driving around, Careless Whisper comes on. I'm like,
yeah,
give me 5 days, I will guitar this up. And my buddy's like, dude, this has been done. So he pulls out the Finding Beauty CD and sticks it in there. There it is. I was like, well, shit.
yeah.
We ended up covering Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Nice,
Not
nice.
a girl in the band anyway. But
Right.
that's really where I picked up with Seether, was the Finding Beauty in Negative Spaces, and
Oh,
then I
cool.
went back and get the back catalog, and yeah, I
Yeah.
picked up Karma and Effect, and there's Remedy. I was like, fuck, I love this song.
That's a great story about Careless Whisper. So that song also a bit of a fluke, man. We were on tour, and I remember that I think there's video somewhere. I don't know if it's on YouTube. We were literally in an arena locker room, a makeshift dressing room. I had a little pad kit and the guys, and we were working out the arrangement for Careless Whisper, learning the song, figuring out how we're going to rock it up, because we had a day off the next day in New York City. And this was really amazing. We recorded at Electric Lady Studios, which,
Mhm.
that in itself, being a Kiss fan, that was like, oh my God, you walk in and, Dress to Kill plaques are on the wall. And, I'm in the tracking room with that great spaceship mural on the big
Mhm.
wall across the way. I'm a huge Jimi Hendrix fan. It was just that in itself was enough. But we do this song all in one day, track all the basic tracks, track the vocals, harmony, got everything done. And it was a killer day. And we did it for an iTunes Valentine's Day thing. It
Yeah.
was sort of and we're not a Journey type band or something like that. So Sean and Dale had this great idea of like, we're all 80s kids. This would be awesome. This is a great song, really. And you sort of guilty pleasure is, Careless Whispers is a cool song. George Michael was awesome. and we do it, and it felt right. It did really well. They put it out, and the thing took off.
Yes, it did.
And so I kind of kid, for me, Seether has its sort of kissing time moment, in that there's a version of Finding Beauty without Careless, and then it was added to later pressings.
Yeah.
So kind of cool.
Yeah, that was really what drew me in, and then yeah, you guys just kept getting better each album, you know.
Thank you.
And starting off, with Disclaimer, there's a very deep Nirvana, Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
Folks listening to Judas Mind right now,
Yeah.
if they didn't know any better, they would not realize that's the same band.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean went hard on that one.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm trying not to fanboy out here, but that's probably my favorite Seether song right now.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a cool song. And Sean, I'm in a band with the guy, but he's just incredibly talented, man. He writes all the music, and we don't use outside songwriters, and we're all sort of self-contained, record the stuff ourselves. And, outside of having somebody mix it, I mean, we're doing it all in-house, and Sean's just amazing. And Judas Mind, it's cool. We have evolved. I love seeing comments where like, these guys, it's been 20 years. How are they getting better?
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is, I know that's, unusual, maybe in some ways, but I think it's really kind of cool, because I know as a musician, you never arrive at this level like, I'm awesome, man. I know it, and I'm just the best I can be. No, man. You're always trying to improve. See a bad drummer, you're trying to like, wow, what's he doing there? What's it, just as a drummer, much less working on music as a band and writing and creating. And I think we still have that something to prove, I don't know what, but you got to have that, that drive to want to put this out and blow people away. And I tell you what I really love about Judas Mind was the video.
Yes.
We put a video together, and I'm not a huge fan of doing videos. There's been some great ones and not so great ones we've done over the years, but I really felt this video kind of lifted the song a bit, like builds an intensity in the bridge, and I think it fit the song really well. And my boys, big rock fans, were kind of like, it makes you listen to the song differently. Yeah. Something about the video with image, again, not always a great thing. But in the case of that, I thought it did really well, really served the song,
For me, watching the video, I listened to that song for about a month before the video came out. Watching that video, the chorus where he's just in the background going hard.
Yeah.
To see his facial expressions on the video and matching that up, that just made it even more intense for me.
Right.
Because, I mean, I love those screams that he does.
Yeah, man.
That one, and then, he did a couple on your previous album, like Dead and Done.
Yeah.
I love it when he goes hard like that.
I know. It's crazy, right? I mean, he's got an amazing scream, man, and his voice, and years of touring, man. He's built that thing up. And I mean, I can count maybe on 3 fingers we've ever had to cancel that many shows over our entire career, maybe due to illness for him and losing he just never did. And so don't quote me on that. I don't even know if it was 3 shows, maybe 1 or 2. I don't know. It's just amazing, his voice. And again, I'm in a band with the guy, but he's, incredibly talented. And
yes, he is.
And his scream is very unique, and it's strong. And yeah, man, it's fun to be in this band.
Well, John, I have enjoyed the ever-loving shit out of sitting here talking to you.
Yeah, me too.
Not just now, but hell, the previous 2 record shows. Hell, I spend more time at your table than I do walking around the show. I don't think I even bought anything at the last show.
You didn't?
I don't think I did.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, I'm always guaranteed.
It doesn't seem like I did. And the one before that, I think the only things that I bought were from you.
Okay, yeah.
So, but yeah, Yeah, it's been fun. I always like talking with anybody, whether you're, insurance salesman or if you're in a band that tours the world for the last
Yeah.
20 years. I like talking with anybody about collecting. So,
Absolutely.
this
Absolutely.
has
Great
been
to
a
connect.
blast.
And yeah, thank you for the invite, man. I'm the same way.
Absolutely.
My give it to my wife who's been, very supportive all these years and with my bad habits and vices, but I guess there's worse ones to have, right?
Sure.
Um, but yeah, I love talking to people like yourself, about this hobby and nerding out on the things we nerd out on. And I admit that I love it though. And it's a lot of fun. And, it's so weird. They always say sometimes maybe you need to get a hobby completely opposite to your, what you do as a career. But I'm just a music guy, man. I love
Sure.
music, and I've always loved vinyl. And it was the first thing I had learned listening to music, looking at those liner notes, looking at those gatefolds. Kiss Alive 2 gatefold, man, dude, that would just send you thinking. Couldn't imagine what it would like to be there when that photo was, it's just amazing. And yeah, I appreciate this, and it's good to talk to you.
Yep. So, if there's nothing else, I think that's a show.
Okay.
So, folks, for John Humphrey, I am Mike Stone, and I will catch you all on the next one. And, John, I will see you in October.
Yeah. See you then, man.